Well, you guessed it. Michigan came out with another victory in the Rose Bowl on the first. So we're back here for the fourth episode. We're lucky to be here with Coach Thornblade, Blade's Banter, and our fourth episode. How are you doing, Coach?
Doing good. What a great victory it was in the Rose Bowl, but that's behind us. And the quicker we get it behind us, the better off we'll be, because there's a formidable Washington team with the most, or certainly one of the most prolific passers in the history of college football.
Yeah.
So it's a great challenge for Michigan. This team has been focused. It's ever since the loss to TCU last year. They have talked about this, and they've had goals. They've maintained their focus. I mentioned that, and they have ambition, and they have big things they want to accomplish, and they're about to have an opportunity to accomplish it all. And the national championship will be the first time Michigan has played for the national championship. All other games prior to the college football playoff, although they did try to put 1 versus 2 in bowls in the past, it was very difficult to do, because sometimes they'd manufacture it for ratings. But this will be the first time that we've gone through a playoff system, which is about to expand. So it's exciting. It's exciting. It's like the championship in basketball. It's tremendous.
It's special. It makes you think, like everyone questioned bowl season, this and that. And there still are some questions because the kid's sitting out and stuff. But that game made you confident in expanding to 12 teams. It made you confident in Division I going to a playoff system. I mean, what a spectacle.
It'll actually take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, Ohio State would have been in the playoffs.
Yep.
And, they took there was tremendous unhappiness down there over the loss to Michigan. I think it was really inappropriate and undeserved. But that's how it is when you only take 4 teams, and certainly the people at Florida State would have had an opportunity. And so I think it's good to expand. But number 13 and 14 next year are going to complain and say they got cheated. But I think the expansion is good, as long as we can make sure that we accommodate the players, and there are not a lot of injuries with the extra games, and we'll be able to track that, and they'll be able to make progress towards a degree. And
I mean, it's going to be good. It's going to be the right thing for football. I do have a question for you that popped in my head right there.
A lot of games, Robbie. A lot of games.
Oh,
so this year we'll play 15. Is this the 15th game?
15th game, Coach.
Yeah.
14 and 0.
Year. So next year will be potentially 17. So that's a lot of football games for.
It's an NFL season, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of football games for college players.
Yeah,
so
absolutely it is.
That is my one concern. This should be about the players ultimately, but it'll be a lot of fun. But that's next year. This year, Michigan plays in 72 hours. I think, if I got that right. And
they play on the 8th. Yep.
Yeah, and it's exciting. And Washington certainly is a deserving team. They earned it, and so did Michigan. So we have a great matchup.
And I don't want to skip over right to Washington just because of the Rose Bowl. Was Keith Jackson the best announcer ever? Or I know you're partial to your own announcing.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
I mean, listening to him, whoa, Nelly, and
the big boys up front, and whoa, Nelly, and holy cow, and or was that? I'm not sure if that was his, but
he was great.
Maybe that was Ernie Harwell. I don't know. But we've had some great announcers, and he was a fixture, and he was a wonderful man, and he loved college athletics, and did his very best to support the coaches and.
Do you believe he's a part of what made the Rose Bowl so great? I mean, the Rose Bowl, everybody now is talking about the national championship be at the Rose Bowl every year and this and that. Well, I feel like Michigan treats the Rose Bowl special, and it, kind of has a special place for us as well.
Well, we played in the first one. We beat Stanford. And for a long time, the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 or whatever the hell it was, and the Big Ten had a tie-up. And that was a bowl game, and that's what you aspired to.
Yeah.
And so every kid in the Midwest grew up with the hopes and dreams that someday they could play on a championship team and represent the Big Ten Western Conference in the greatest bowl that there is, that there was, the Rose Bowl. To go out to California, the Golden State, go to Disneyland, all that great stuff. So it was our goal and ambition, but that has changed, of course, with the playoffs. I don't know if they'll have a permanent site. That would not be a bad permanent site. Certainly, all that has to be negotiated. I do like playing on grass as opposed to turf, and I think it's better for the players, and I think they'd rather play on it. So I think it's not a bad suggestion. But right now we're going to Houston. We're going to play on Helix turf, and
Yep.
I think it might be to our advantage because we have such great team speed.
Oh, we're
Uh,
fast.
and I think it'll allow our defensive backs, who are going to be have the ultimate challenge with a great receiver and a great group of receivers, collectively the best group of receivers. Well, it rivals Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State has 3 or 4 great receivers, but I think they rival those guys. They stand up with anybody. It's certainly a great group that will be difficult for us to keep to hold down. And
Yeah.
Penix likes to throw long, and they're going to take the top. They're going to take the top off the
Oh,
defense.
they're going to take the top off for sure. I think
He
we have
throws
a great
accurately too. When he throws long, he's accurate.
coach. He's throwing 15-yard comebacks on a dime. He's throwing switch routes right over the cornerbacks, trailing them like literally right over his head.
And
I
they're
mean,
going to have back shoulder throws.
yep.
We're going to have to. Our defensive backs are going to have to turn on the ball. The other defensive backs are going to have to talk. They're going to have to. They're going to have to read their cues. So they're going to have to look at the receiver when he starts to gather himself to make a play on the ball, so they themselves can jump on the ball. And they're going to have to cut the field off. And what I mean by that is they're going to have to press them to the sideline.
Yeah.
And then get them locked on the sideline. So the error of margin is great. It's very difficult to hit those balls, although Penix against Texas did just that.
Well,
He threw
as a
the ball,
defensive
in there
back,
perfectly.
yeah. You're completely right. They did it all over Texas, dropped it right in the basket. As a defensive back, you rarely get to go against 2-on-1. But if you use that sideline as your buddy, you can really help yourself. You gives yourself a little edge, and give yourself something to rely on,
But we
some
talked about it
leverage.
earlier, Rob. This whole thing, a large part of it's going to be predicated on whether they're great offensive line. The Joe Moore Award winners is the best offensive line. I don't know how you do that, but how you decide that. But that means they're good and they're respected. I don't know who votes on it. We were the previous 2 years in a row. Michigan was voted the best. Joe Moore, best offensive line in the country.
Yep.
Whether or not we can get pressure on Penix with 4 or 5. Now, and you heard me do this earlier. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We better be close to Penix.
Yeah.
We have to limit the amount of time he has in the pocket because he makes great decisions. So we're going to have to pressure him and force him at least to reset his feet or be in his way within 2.5 to 3 seconds. We can't give him 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000,
That's on the money.
5,000.
That's coming out on the guy's break. Yeah.
It's really impossible to cover that long, particularly in man-to-man. Now, Minter's going to, the way you beat a great quarterback is you disrupt him. Now, we talked about it earlier. They have a big, tall offensive line. I think 6'5" they averaged, although the center is a smaller guy. He's the heaviest guy at 6'2", but he's a redshirt freshman, and he'll be going against 2 of the best in Grant and Mason Graham.
Yeah.
I know this. They're saying that the center from Alabama transferred, but he's going to pick a school where he never has to see Mason Graham again.
He's not going to the Big Ten.
Well, he was outstanding in that game, but he has been outstanding in every game up to this. And at the beginning of the year, he had a broken hand, and now, of course, he's injury free, and he's a lot to handle. So their guys, and you can talk about their drop step and their zone step.
Yeah.
Our guys come off the ball. They have a great
hit people
first
in the
step.
mouth. Yeah.
They have a great first step. that first step is fast. Think about Aaron Donald. I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald, they're not that level, but they are similar to that in that they got a great first step and a great punch. And when they punch, offensive linemen, particularly tall ones, can get off balance. And when they get off balance, then you can make your move because they disengage also. Now, we
Hey,
can't.
Coach, they better get ready for what is it? Number 5, Josiah Stewart, is it?
Yep. And then number 17. And then
McGregor,
Harold.
the first play, sack. The last play, Stewart. He took the tackle and put him in the A gap. He was playing a crash 5, and he said, "This is what's going to happen. I'm going to put you so far in the backfield they can't run a play." I mean, we ran a what Saban calls an old eagle blitz, which is a Sam Will blitz,
Yes.
and we're playing man behind it as you see our backer motion out with the back, and I mean, there's so many things that happen. But the thing that stood out to me right away is number 5 put that guy back. Then
they got him Milrow. They got him off his game fast.
Yeah.
And when you get hit like that, and when you get sacked like that, I don't care who you are, the greatest quarterback in the world, you just got to start to look around. And they started to get nervous. And Barrett was effective coming in there. He's been effective rushing the passer. Barrett.
Barrett got a sack that split like the Red Sea. I mean, it was beautiful.
And our defense is fast, and they can run.
Yes.
Do not
those tall guys, they better be ready and get their leverage. I'm just saying, for Stewart and like all the guys you're talking about, they got to step at those guys and punch.
I do not believe they have played a defensive line is gifted and is tough. I mean, they are tough. It is quick and it's powerful. By the same token, this is probably the best pass. They've only given up 11 sacks. So this is probably the best pass protection line that we have faced. And I don't think there's any question, although I have great respect for the quarterback at Maryland, that this is the best quarterback we've seen. The ball comes out fast.
Yes.
The ball comes out fast. So we're going to, now Mentor's, really done a wonderful job. He's going to change it up. And we're going to show him different packages and hope to confuse them and get free guys. And he's not afraid to blitz a corner or a strong safety, Stainstrup, and those guys. But when we do that, we got to hold on. Now, the great gift that we have is named Will Johnson. Will Johnson is truly a lockdown corner.
Amen.
There will never be another Charles Woodson, but he's as close as Charles as we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a great gifted corner. But across the board, we have good players back there. Colson can run, and so can Barrett. We have really good front. We've given up 10 points a game. Their defense has given up 24. So statistically, certainly, our defense is better. Now they have good players, and they play in a great league. They played SC. They played, a good Washington State team, a good Oregon State team, and a great and gifted passer at Oregon, Bo Nix.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to say, Coach, is that our defense is really tough. So is our offense. Go back and watch number 44 for us block. Every time he's motioning, he's kicking people out, he's going inside. I mean, he's a tough guy. I mean, that's one thing that stood out to me. And then also, I know you're a wide receiver coach. One thing that was blatant to me was how we got Alabama out of position with the motion of our receivers and just their splits. The splits of our receivers on our run versus our pass plays and being consistent and getting their corners and their guys sucked in and then motioning and getting them out and getting them off balance. I mean, all this stuff that we found out when they were in man and we got these plays and where we throw it out to Blake in the flat and they're playing 2-man. And on Blake's touchdown, they're playing 2-man and they're just running mesh. They're running mesh and the backer gets caught up.
That means 2 deep men underneath. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
And then the safety.
For the linebackers and the underneath guys, there's 5 guys underneath, and they're matching up with the receivers, and there's 2 men on the hashes, typically safeties.
Well,
So the
the
people out
safety
there
that was on the
understand.
hash that was supposed to have help on Blake's leak out was, wiggling his butt towards the middle third when he had no help. The linebacker got caught up in this because of our splits. They rubbed each other. The linebacker got cut up, and Blake goes free, and everybody's going, well, Alabama doesn't know what they're doing. To me, it's Sharon Moore knows what he's doing, and our
Well,
receivers are
Jim,
coached.
Jim, Jim,
Yeah.
and Sharon and the offensive coaches put together a great plan. You mentioned it, and Saban talked about it. We didn't substitute much. We went in the huddle, but after we came out of the huddle, we were able to motion and shift. And when we did that, if you watch the game, the Alabama linebackers were looking around, and they got, and on occasion, they didn't shift correctly, and they got a bad position, which on the running plays gave us numerical superiority, more blockers, and they have defenders, and that allows for a good play. Now that said, we got to go
Well,
back.
yeah.
We got to talk about this game.
I was going to say I
Uh,
won't. We'll put
I'll
that
talk
one to.
about the Rose Bowl, but that one's I'm putting that one to bed. It was a
We'll,
one victory, but that's gone. Now we got to learn from our mistakes. Certainly we cannot drop punts. Now we have to catch the punts. We have to get somebody that will catch punts. And I don't care about the return. They do not have a great punter. They're 38 yards net punting. And remember, the punt is the most important play in football. One thing that people do not recognize or haven't talked about, and I believe they did, but when they talked about our mistakes on our special teams, that is a great punter. The best two punters in the country, the best three, are our guy, Doman, the kid at Iowa, Aussie punter, and this kid at Alabama, an Aussie punter. And that's why they play field position, and Saban plays field position. And they dictate field position with big net punts. Now, our net punt is 41 yards. That's the punt after the return. And we got to stay true to that. We got to cover. But when we have a chance to kick a field goal, particularly one that is not so long that there's not great odds. That was a makeable field goal. We got to make it. We can have bad snaps on, that's costly. That 1 point, it might not have been overtime. Who's to say it wouldn't have been tied? But certainly that 1 point. And we cannot drop punts. We got to
Coach,
catch the punt.
it's
And I love 83, but if 83 can't catch the punt, don't put him back there.
82. Yeah, 82.
82, Shimon,
Yeah.
Shamar. And now, I'll guarantee you that's been emphasized, and he's heard about it, and they've gone over it, and he's probably catching 1,000 punts a day, which he needs to.
Well,
When you're a freshman, he was a freshman kid. There was a lot of excitement, and I'm telling you, a mistake like that could be very costly, and it could cost us the national title. So you've got to catch the punt. You have to execute. Football is a game of error, and the team that makes the least error typically wins. It's also, and we just talked about it, still a martial sport. And most often, the toughest team, the team that is the most physical, wins the game also.
Yeah.
Certainly, Michigan was surprisingly, more physical in Alabama, more physical in Ohio State, more physical in Penn State. These are great defenses, more physical than Iowa. And we were really hurt when we played Iowa.
Yeah.
So those are our strengths. We need to sustain our blocks. Keep blocking. Blake can break at any time. I hope that Donovan Edwards will start to break a tackle or two, but if he does get the ball, get downhill and maximize the run. There's nothing wrong with 4, 5, 6 yard runs. And then over time, the idea is you beat them up. And then those runs start beginning. Then you break a big one like Blake does, 20 yards. You got to keep your legs moving on contact if you're a running back. But ball security. We cannot turn the ball over on special teams, or JJ's got to make good decisions. If we can pick this kid a couple times, shake him up a little bit. Now, he's not proven to be a shakeable kid, and I have the greatest respect for Pennick. He's going to be a first-round draft choice, have a great pro career. He is pass first. So he's going to run reluctantly. They did call a couple runs for him last game in Texas late in the game, but he is pass first. They're reluctant to run him because of his injury history. He's been injured. He's been injured severely, and they had to repair his knee and all that stuff.
He has beat Michigan before.
Yes, he has. He has. And now we can talk a minute. I want you to say something about this coach who started NAIA. Now, I've seen that football. When you coach it, it's good football. And there's some
Yeah,
good coaches down there, aren't there?
yeah, absolutely. Great coaches. It's cool to see NAI go from winning a couple national championships all the way to the D1 national championship.
And
I mean,
what the heck school did he coach at?
the Sioux, I think. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. But that's wonderful. And so he's a self-made guy. And you're good friends with a coach
yeah.
on that staff,
Yeah, Nick
Robbie. What's his
Sheridan.
name?
Yeah, Nick Sheridan is the tight end coach, and then
And he's a Michigan man.
a kid
He's a
that
Michigan.
played for me's younger brother's the GA over there, and it's crazy to see all the connections
We have a
between.
long history with Washington
Yeah,
going back. My first recollection is when I was a senior in high school and Michigan played, and Sonny Sixkiller was their quarterback. And he's a great name from the past, and he was a wonderful passer. And Don James now went out there. Don James had coached at Michigan for many years.
yeah,
Then he went to Kent State. He was at Kent State. He coached a few guys like Nick Saban, guys like that. And Don James went out to Washington, had tremendous teams. We played him in the Rose Bowl. I think they had Warren Moon, Hall of
yeah,
Fame quarterback, and he ran up and down the field. And it was a close game, but he beat us. But then subsequently next year, they had a great team. I believe they were rated number one, and we beat them. It was the 1981 Rose Bowl, and we had great players: Butch Wofolk, Anthony Carter, John Wengler, Ed Moran. One Bubba Paris, and we had a lot of great players on that team, and that was a wonderful win. But it was a well-coached team, and it was difficult to beat Washington. We're
yeah,
going up against a fine coach and a fine coaching staff.
yeah. He won.
This
He
team,
won 3 national championships at Sioux Falls while he was there.
he's 50
And
years old, and he
yeah,
has confidence, and he knows what he's doing. They've won some big games this year. People didn't anticipate. They picked Texas against them. They picked Oregon against them when they had the second go around in the Pac-10 championship, 12, whatever it is. It'll be no more, and so they have prevailed, and that tells you the character of this team.
yeah. They got a great
Now,
coaching. They got a great coaching staff. Great scheme. They brought in good kids. I mean, look at the recruiting they've done in such a short time. Their offensive linemen. I mean, I know, coach, they're pass setters and stuff, but they look like $1,000,000.
now
When,
let's talk about that again. Now they
yeah,
take a step. They take a
they
bucket
zone
step.
block. They zone
They
block.
zone
So,
block.
and
So they're going to
sometimes when you
step
zone block, you
side,
sidestep, you do a bucket
step
step.
sideways.
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
guys step forward. Our
yeah.
defensive guys come like this and engage. Now, when you do that, though, they're big guys,
They,
and if they wall you off, and if he plays, and I believe he will play, and we have to. Their great tailback who's gained over 1,200 yards. He's
they
going to
will try
cut
to run. They will try to come downhill at us a little bit.
and
They've
they'll
zone
cut back.
block. Their runs are probably 60-40 zone block versus man, like a personnel blocking scheme. But they're just not as physical. But like you said, if they
Well, they have an
we're
All-American first-round draft pick at tackle,
well,
uh,
yeah. But if
and
the way we get penetration, okay, you were talking about this earlier. The way we get penetration, if they don't get the edge on our guy, on the next man over, if they don't get the shoulder, we're going to be in the backseat field so fast, or we're going to be hitting that guy in the mouth so fast, we're going to get so much penetration because of the difference. But I mean,
so what we're doing now is we're speculating on what's going to happen.
yeah.
But what we're speculating about tells you about what we think how we're going to if we can win this game.
Well,
We're
and
going
you'll
to
see
have to
these
have pressure on
the
Penix.
quarterback, yeah. Well,
It's the
and you'll see
quarterback.
these offensive line. They're going to do a lot of wide receiver screens. You're going to see these guys get out and run and be
They
athletic.
can run. They can
Yes.
run out there and block.
Yeah.
They'll release those guys, and they like to screen. So part of having a great rush, is they're going to screen you, which takes
Well,
you
and
out.
it keeps you honest on deep routes. You got
And
to
our
cover.
linebackers are going to have to run those screens down. And when they throw those screens out to receivers, our safeties and cornerbacks are going to have to come up and make plays. I
Well,
saw McMillan make some big plays for them. They're a big play team. They
well,
take big amount of yardages when they take a lot of yardage when they have a positive offensive play. They're not Michigan. 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 4,
Well,
3,
well,
7. They don't do it like that.
well, I want
And they
people to
go
watch.
they go for big plays.
Yes, I want people
We
to
have to
watch
limit those.
when they screen, coach. There's always multiple options. If they're wide receiver screening, there's probably a screen on both sides.
Yeah.
Or if they're screening, that they're having somebody run that guy off, and it's the quarterback. If he has a connection with that guy, it's not just to you have to play the screen and you have to be able to cover that guy. And when that guy doesn't get the ball, stop on a dime and come back up and rally in the screen, because sometimes you're the last line of defense when they have those. There's a
So
it's
their
a
screen game
yeah
is sophisticated,
yeah
and
yeah
they have a sophisticated passing attack,
yeah
and we're going to have to defense it.
yeah.
And
We got
part
the
of that
guys though.
is we got to play within the scheme. We cannot make mistakes. Pennick will find you. He'll find if we give something up, there's great potential. He'll find what we give up and get the ball to that place. So we got to get home. We got to
Yeah,
make him reset his feet. We got to make him know that we're there. Part of that is in the pocket, keeping him in the pocket and making him reset his feet within the pocket. He is not a guy that's going to escape. Now, he has the ability to do it. He's an athlete. He can run. But he doesn't do like JJ. He's not going to bail. He's not going to, he's not going to go right or left. And then he hasn't done that. That's not been the kind of football that he plays. Now, much of our game plan will be around JJ making great choices about Corum, Mullings, and Donovan running the ball successfully and holding on to it and pounding those guys and time of possession. But it's also going to be JJ running. And he was effective when he ran in the Rose Bowl. He's been effective. He's effective. He runs 4-4. The guy's quick.
you think?
He
I
can
thought
run
it
the
was
ball.
4-4, coach, or 4-6.
Whatever. He's fast. I give him. He's Superman to me. I love the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's. It's interesting that I looked at Kuiper. Mel Kuiper. Now we still have 20 guys they think can play pro football, and I haven't looked at their number, but they have a lot. They have three guys that are first round picks. They got the tackle, they got the great receiver O'Dunn's, and then they got Penix. All three of those guys. They're going to have three guys projected in the first round. Now that's big. When you
Yeah.
got the 3 round picks, that means that's
Your
outside
serious squad.
now, and they're all on offense. Every one of those guys are on offense. And I haven't had a chance to scan the Pac-10, the awards for defense. But now people are
Coach,
maligning their defense, which
yeah,
means those kids
are going to
are going
play
to be
hard.
they're going
They're
to be
going to
motivated.
show up. Yeah, they're
Uh,
hungry.
but we've had people show up before. Look, everybody's going to be excited. The biggest thing for the coaches is to keep these guys. First of all, preparation's been key. And I hope we've had good preparation. I'm certain we've had. Jimmy's played in the Super Bowl. Jimmy's played on the biggest stage, our coach. They have not. They have not done this. That doesn't mean they can't win, but they don't have the experience. So what you don't want to do is get so excited the day before or even the morning before that you expend a lot of energy because you get so fired up, your cortisol, everything's fired up, and your adrenaline's up. And the same thing is true and warm-ups. Now JJ goes and meditates in warm-ups
Yeah, it's
because
smart.
you want to expend all your energy in the course of the game. Because you can, if anybody's played athletics before a big game, sometimes you're exhausted just in warm-ups, and you recognize that. You can't do that. You have to go slow. You have to get ready, get prepared, get mentally focused,
Build
but not
up.
expend your energy
Yeah.
because there's going to be tremendous. The crowd's going to fill up 72,000. They're going to a lot of purple, a lot of maize. It's going to be great excitement. Oh, a bunch of famous people will be walking around, and the entire nation will be watching. So the big thing
Coach.
is maintain your focus. Don't get too high, too early. But
Well, I
when
know
you
we like
play,
to talk.
let it
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Let it go. Build it up and let it go. I know we like to talk about coaching staffs. This guy seems like he's been Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator. Seems like he's been with him since the NAIA days, and they won all those games at Fresno State, which got him to Washington. So they've been in some pretty big games. They haven't been in the Super Bowl, but I think they have a little experience there. It's definitely going to be exciting to see. I think our
But
coaches
they
got
don't
the
have the experience Jim Harbaugh has. Now, I
No,
mean,
they don't.
Jim's played.
Yeah,
He's been a player and a coach.
he should have went to
And
the Super Bowl, but Aaron Bailey dropped the ball. He
yeah,
would have
well,
played in the Super Bowl, but Aaron Bailey dropped the ball.
yeah. Well,
That's what they say in Indianapolis.
what we're hoping his brother plays in the Super Bowl, and then we win the national championship, and the Harbaughs will have a good year. But Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh are not playing.
Yeah.
Their coach is not playing. Grubbs is not playing. He's going to be calling the plays. They got to make good choices. But you remember that Pennick's going to go up there with a series of choices and then make a call in an automatic based on what he sees.
So
JJ will do the same thing. 50% of what happens will happen before the play.
So Coach Penix is about 30 years old. What is he, 24 years old?
I don't know.
He's been
he's a veteran
6-7 years in the NCAA. He's got
the COVID thing, we've had 6-year players.
COVID and injury. So he got 2 years on top. So he's been in the he can walk up to the line and call his own play. I'm sure they're giving him a lot of options, and when you can work with a guy for a couple years that has that type of mind, that understand and experience, it's like bringing in a 3-year starter, and that what he can do. Now you give him all the options. Hey, call this, call that. He knows all of your lingo. You can do a lot with him.
And the thing he did last game against Texas, a formidable team, a gifted team. He targeted his wide receivers 20 times. He completed 19 of those. And the ball goes deep. Those are deep passes. Those are not. Now, he did throw some screens to McMillan, who ran 20 yards, 30 yards. But they're now yards per pass attempt, they're at 9.37. Michigan, who does not pass as often, is 8.96, almost 9 yards. Both are 9 yards. That's a good statistic. That means if you throw the ball, you're close. They're going to rush the ball only 43% of the time. So rushing is a changeup for them. Passing is what they're going to do 50% of the time. And Jim stays, this statistic is his statistic. It doesn't change a heck of a lot. We're going to run 60% of the time and pass 40. That's the equation. And we're going to be physical, and over time, we're going to wear down the defense. That's what they do. They pound and they pound. That's Schembechler, 2-3 yards. But in the second and third and fourth quarters, when the opponent starts to get weak, after you keep coming at him, those 9, 10, 12, 13, and like Corum can break a big one. And he's been remarkable. The other thing,
Coach, hold on, about Blake, I have to say this. That jump cut on a year after tearing his ACL, you remember tearing your ACL in the 70s and them cutting it out.
I didn't tear my ACL, but that's tough. I had a cartilage. I took my cartilage out. But yeah. And,
to make that jump cut a year later,
he started slow this year because he was unsure of himself, and he was getting tackled by the first defender almost always, even when there was a big hole. And then about the third game, he said, "This is not good enough," and he talked about it, and he let it go. He just played like he didn't have an injury anymore. He was not cautious. He played like the old Corum, and what a leader he is, and what a wonderful young man, and what a wonderful career he's had at Michigan. Well, now, I do want to talk about this statistic. This is an important statistic. Michigan's third down efficiency. On third down, we get a first down 45% of the time. That's really good. Anything over 40 is really good. They get a first down 46.5% of the time. So almost half the time, both these offenses are going to be successful in a third down situation. And third down is the biggest down in football. We know that. Now, third down efficiency defense. Opponents have only been successful on third down against Michigan 30% of the time. Now, that's a heck of a stat. So 7 out of 10 times, they are denied a first down by Michigan.
Yeah.
They are allowing first downs almost 40% of the time. That's not horrible, but it's not great. It's not 30%, it's 40%.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference, and those third downs are key.
How many points against is Washington's defense?
24 points. They're allowing 24.14 a game. Michigan's allowing 10.2 2-1. That is the most important statistic in defensive football. Overall, we're the third best defense in college football. Now it's not apple to apples because you have different, different teams you play against, and you play against weak and good teams. Everybody was critical about Michigan's schedule, but we have proven against talented teams to be a stingy defense. And we tackle and we play hard and we run to the ball.
Coach, we blitz hard. We blitz hard. Some teams blitz and they don't, and it's like they're kind of blitzing. They're not sure if they're going. We blitz hard and we cover. So our guys that are blitzing trust our corners to get them there, and our guys cover so our guys can get there. And and our defensive line holds people up, and we blitz hard. We blitz really hard. So
now we have to look at this. This is the best team we have played. It's not somebody that slipped into the final.
No.
There were 4 great teams. I mean, outstanding teams. You saying everybody saying Alabama was not good? That's crap. Those mistakes that Alabama made were caused. They were caused by the Michigan defense and the Michigan offense. Mistakes are a consequence of playing against an outstanding opponent who causes you to make mistakes. You just don't make them because you're playing in air. You're playing against an opponent. So that was a great Alabama team with a great coach. Texas was loaded with players, and we went down to the final play.
37-31.
It went down. They threw a jump ball in the end zone, and it was not a great pass. I think had he thrown a great pass or come back to that big receiver, we might be playing. Very well could be playing them, but they could say the same thing about Alabama. The game is always a series of close plays, particularly when the teams are evenly matched. This is different than Alabama. It's a different group. It's a different recipe for success. Can we stop them? We know what they do. We know they're going to rely on the pass. We know we cannot allow big plays down the field. We know that. We know that we have to get pressure on the passer. So that is the challenge that we have. We also have to shut the run off. We can't be negligent of that. We also know that Michigan on first down has to get good plays. We have to have a manageable second down. Not critical because JJ can pass the ball as well as anybody. For me, JJ is the best quarterback in the country. No disrespect to Pennick, no disrespect to the player at LSU, Bo Nix, or anybody else. I think he's a winner. He's about to become one of the biggest winners in the history of college football if he can win this game. And up there with great players, in the history of college football. So we're going to watch 2 great quarterbacks, 2 first-round quarterbacks are going to play in this game. Now, I'm not going to say the outcome is going to be determined on their play, but certainly they're going to play a big role in it. And I think our tight ends, which did not play a major role last game, could be a big factor. Last week, they lined up against the 2 best outside linebackers, or 2 first-round outside linebackers with Alabama. And we had to pay attention to those guys, and sometimes we didn't release because we had to block those guys. I think if we can get those kids downfield, they're a matchup nightmare.
Well, and we got jammed. We got jammed up by those outside linebackers too. There's a lot of times that because we run a 2 tight end on the same sides, and they're lined up one on the wing, one on the line. There's a point of a trips formation or something. That guy would jam us, and we kind of ran into our guy a couple times when we're trying to run dig routes and drag routes.
We played against some great players up front against Alabama. I don't know. I do not know if Washington has that caliber of player. I don't think they have 2 first-round edge rushers. Now, we will see. They have one guy that's been very active and made big plays, number 6, I believe he is, and he's been great.
Well, this is one thing I want people to watch out for, and I know that you'll comment on, and this is it's tight ends, 13 personnel. When we have 3 tight ends out there, we can run and pass out of that formation because our 3 guys are – so our 12 personnel and our 13 personnel – and then you have 2, you either have 1 really good receiver or 2 good receivers out there. We can do everything out of both formations. So the defense is on their – they're not – it's hard for them to get tells on run or pass, Coach, because we will do anything out of any formation with our tight end.
We do not substitute a lot. So
Yeah.
they can't substitute packages based on our personnel
Yeah.
because, like as Rob just mentioned, those tight ends are wide receivers. So we
Yeah.
don't have to take them out because they can run any pattern and they can make every catch.
Yeah.
And by the way, didn't Mullings make a great catch in the Rose Bowl?
Oh, coach,
So we our
on the
backs that can
sideline,
catch.
it was beautiful.
We have backs that can catch. Donovan Edwards is a wide receiver who also plays tailback.
Yeah.
We have two Roman Wilson. I want to get him the ball again. I want to give him the ball. He makes plays, that guy.
Coach,
Don't
so
block in the back downfield, Roman, but you made up for it the next play.
they ran a switch route where the number 2 runs a wheel and this guy runs up the seam and he pushes that guy to the seam and then breaks that out route. And when Lawson tipped that ball, he plucked it out of midair. Like I was listening to Charles talk about it. He was on the sideline, Charles Woodson, and he was like, that was an unbelievable catch right after he blocked that guy in the back.
Roman's had a great year. If he wears number
Yeah.
1, he deserves to wear number 1.
Yeah.
There was a great player named Anthony Carter wore that number. He's living up to it. And I know
Yeah.
Anthony who I had the privilege of coaching, would be proud of it. Now, if Jason Dillard doesn't play, there's a major drop off. I'm not saying the next kid can't run the ball well, but he's getting 199 yards, where number 7 has gained a lot of yards. They have a group of receivers, Polk, Odunez, McMillan. Then another guy that's caught 30-foot balls, and then Westover, who's a tight end who has only caught 400 yards worth of balls. And then there's nobody. Nobody else has run patterns or been in there.
Their backup tight end is listed as number 37. Doesn't sound like he's getting too much time on the field.
Well, yeah, he has not. He's put up in the stats.
Yeah, exactly.
He could be. He could be a great player. I mean,
yeah, he might be, but
I'm optimistic as always. I believe in this group of kids. These kids have chemistry. It's I try to call it the it. They got it. Now, it is hard to describe, heart, character, but they've come together as a unit, and they believe in each other. They have a brotherhood, and they've had a magnificent season. This has been their aim, their ambition, their goal. This is what they've been after. This is what they pursued. They've never deviated from that. They've had all this stuff on the side, that the reason we won is because we stole signs. That was crap. The game was decided on the field, but they've been maligned. Now, they're saying, oh, watch, there's a chip on our shoulder because nobody thinks highly of them. Well, we got a chip on our shoulder, too, and because of what we've come through. But that doesn't matter look, right now, it doesn't matter who feels maligned and who doesn't. What matters is that you execute your responsibility to your very best within the context of the scheme, and you make no mistakes. Quarterback play is going to be essential. So we've got to sustain our block, move our feet, sustain the block. Knowing that Corum his feet doesn't die on contact. He's going to break one, break a big one. So believe in that. JJ's got to make good decisions. It can't be like, he got his bacon saved. That was play in the Rose Bowl. He can't make those mistakes. Throw the ball out. If the pass is not there, throw the ball out of bounds. Be decisive, which he is. Then he comes back and I must mention this, and I don't want to rehash the last game because there's a game in front of us. And Washington could do the same thing, talking about the great plays made in Texas. But the great plays in the national championship have yet to be made. And you have to be prepared and ready to make those. But I must mention on that trick play when JJ made a great catch on threw the ball downfield. That was as athletic as you get.
He threw a dime. Coach, he threw a dime.
And they got annihilated
Yeah.
by one of those great edge rushers and got up and picked all the stuff out of his visor and out of his helmet and went back to work.
Well, usually when you see hits like that, the guy's getting sacked and limping off the field, not just got a one-handed catch and a 40-yard throw in one play.
Well, we're coming up to the biggest game.
I didn't know. Sorry, Coach, to interrupt, but I didn't know Giles Jackson was a receiver for Washington.
Yeah, he retired. When he went to the portal, he left and went there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll let you get your.
He made a play. He made a play in there.
Yeah.
He'll be there. I don't know if he returns kicks or not, but yeah, he's on that team. And they've been, the portal has been successful for them, and of course, sort of the appendix has been an important part of that.
Holy moly!
Yeah, I mean he's been key to their success, and that's the way college football is now. And Jim has done a beautiful job with the portal too. Took a center and a tackle,
I mean,
place kicker,
how screwed up it is if
another tight end, and a backup quarterback. The Indiana, all those guys have played a big role in our success.
the one thing I don't like is the. I mean, you go to the playoffs. Saban was talking about this. Your December. I mean, you're recruiting. You're trying to do early signing day. You're trying to practice. You're trying to do all this stuff. It's a lot different than back in the day, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah,
Or
but
you were
we had
always preparing for.
we had eight assistants. That was it.
Yeah,
We had some GAs. We didn't have analysts. Now the Michigan analysts have done a terrific job, by the way. They're unknown. There's a whole group of people that work there.
Fred
They have
Jackson,
Fred Jackson, the Mallories,
the
Doug,
Mallories.
and Mike, great Michigan men. And there's some other guys I don't know, but they've done a tremendous job helping the team prepare and analyzing and giving us correct information so we can prepare correctly. They've been some of them I do not know, but they've been sensational.
Yeah,
And you don't get here, and the same thing is true, I'm sure, on the Washington side. But we didn't have we didn't have player personnel guys. We didn't have that.
yeah.
We had a recruiting coordinator at the end, but he was typically a coach. Coach Elston is the recruiting coordinator. So they have a lot bigger staffs. But yeah, there is a lot to manage. Now, Nick Saban and the big coaches are flying around on private planes, so it's not as difficult for them. We didn't do that. We didn't have private planes. We were driving. Of course, we didn't recruit nationally like they do now.
Coach, you were
So,
driving. You were driving to trade tape with other college coaches, weren't you?
yes,
You were
yeah, we
splicing
did.
up
Oh,
film
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
splicing,
driving,
no tape, film, 8 millimeter film. So,
and then you would
yeah,
drive
those
to meet the Indiana
we meet them
coaches.
and
Or,
we do our film exchange and try to get it back for Sunday night. Get it back by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Sunday night, so the coaches could look at it. We start to break it down. So that's what it was. Teams weren't on TV. We were only on twice a year, but it's changed. It's changed dramatically, but that's
yeah,
okay. Everything changes,
yeah,
and you have to adapt to the change. The good coaches reinvent themselves. Saban has been able to stay current. He's 72 years old, but he's able to adapt. And it used to be kick, play defense, and run the ball, but now you spread the field. You got to have gate skill guys. The game is played on the perimeter a lot. That's much different. It was in between the tackles when I coached and played, and that's okay. So the game is evolving. These kids can throw and catch on the highest level.
yeah. It's
It used to
amazing
be,
to watch.
a great passer was 50%. He completed 50% of his passes, and that was, but it changed greatly. Now, so we got this guy, this Penix guy, about to play his last game, highly regarded by everybody, by the pros. He's had the only thing they say about he does have an injury history, so we got to make him know that we're there. We got to defend in a variety of ways. We gotta confuse him when we can, and he's not easily confused. We got to change our coverages on the snap and do some different things like that, and then play at our very best to contain him and these great receivers. We got to avoid costly penalties. A lot of times, you get a guy like that, you might hold him. Now, you got to remember, if a guy runs by you and this kid hits them when they're deep, tackle them because that's a 15-yard penalty. It's not a spot foul, and that's something that I'm sure that they talk about. And that's a good play. Just give them 15 yards. It's not like you throw the ball and you interfere on the 5-yard line and they're back on their own 40.
Yeah,
But those are the kind of deep balls this guy can throw, and they're jump balls too. Now I have confidence
he throws them
in
where his guys can catch them too, Coach.
he throws them going out,
Yeah,
so they're difficult to intercept. Doesn't throw the ball in and leaves them out. That's why we got to cut the field, so there's not a lot of room for him between his receiver, so he can fade him to the sideline, and the defender can't cover him. We used to try to create space between Carter and the sideline and then fade Anthony. Let the ball take him there. It would not be intercepted and he could almost catch it, and the defender was difficult to make a play on it. But if we force them on their release to the boundary quickly and make them run down the boundary, there's not a lot of room to throw the ball in there. Now he throws the ball coming in too. The ball will come in, and if we play zone coverage, we got to be aware of that. But he's going to hang safeties. Mentor smart. He's going to hang a robber in there. It's going to be a chess match. That part of it, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's not going to be rock'em sock'em. It's not going to be two running teams play great defense coming at each other. But I do believe that the physical nature of our offensive defensive line has been one of our keys to success. And I think it'll play a role in this. We got to tackle. We got to open field tackle. That's critical.
I was scared.
So
Yeah. No, go
it's
ahead.
going to be a wonderful game. It's going to be a wonderful game. Yeah, we're scared.
No. I
We're
was
scared,
scared
but we're
when
scared, but we're ready to go.
when Stainstro came down and stopped his feet and they scored that first touchdown. I got
Well, he was
scared.
on an island. He was on an
Oh,
island out
I know,
there.
but then we started running to the ball, gang tackling. Rod Moore is unbelievable. The way
you got to gather yourself. You got to gather yourself and jump on his back. You can't get flat-footed. He was caught flat-footed in a big wide area of the field against a really fine back. But that's behind us, and he'll pay attention to that. We got to wrap our arms. When you tackle, you got to run through the ball carrier and wrap your arms. Those kind of fundamental things will play a role in this game. If you do not wrap Corum up, he will break a tackle. And with his speed and toughness and durability, he'll take a toll on them, and he can break a big one and win the game for us. So we got those kids. So it's Josh Wallace. We got Page back there, Rod Moore, who's been great, Will Johnson, and Stainstrom. Those guys right there. Got their work cut out for them. I believe they're up to the task now. They're not out there alone. You got some linebackers out there, and you got some edge rushers that can come. Big guys. And you got those big guys in front, that are like, I compare them to Aaron Donald. They're not Aaron Donald. Don't get me wrong. That guy's an old pro, Hall of Famer. But they're like that. They're similar in their size and quickness. That first step, boy, they come up, boom, they're on you. And then they punch you. And then those big, tall guys, if they're really upright, they will be thrown off balance, and we'll come right under them and make plays. But we'll see. We'll see.
One thing you were saying earlier too is they punch out and make plays. Like our defensive line doesn't just drive guys. We get off blocks and make plays. Like we were talking about this earlier about punch. How
Mason Graham takes two.
Oh my God.
Takes two guys. Takes two guys. Now, one thing that was very telling to me, Jenkins, I saw him after the game. Jenkins is going to be a high pick, first or second round. And Jenkins said, I looked at the guys after the first series when they went against the Alabama offensive line, and they said, we got this. We got this.
Yeah.
So they knew they could defeat them. And those were big, talented men. There's a first-round draft pick on many of those guys are going to be high picks and play a long time in the National Football League that we won again last weekend. So we're going to see. We're going to see who's prepared well. We've got to limit mistakes. We're excited at what an opportunity is. I feel a great deal of gratitude towards these kids in the Michigan team for this wonderful run that's been magical, and it's been so much fun for me. And I'm grateful, Jim allowed me to talk to the team before the Rutgers game, and that was a privilege. And I feel closer to them because of that. And I've had the chance to be around a lot of them, and I like them.
Yeah.
I like the way they act. I like the way they conduct themselves. And they are for each other. They are a brotherhood. There's no I, me around those guys. Those guys believe in each other.
And what
they know that together they can accomplish big things. Together, united in an effort, a coordinated effort together.
Well, I think that
these guys come through adversity.
Yeah. That has to be a testament to our coaches, to how focused they have our team. In 2024 with social media, NIL deals, all this different BS that they have to deal with, and being a student athlete.
Well, they accused us of cheating, and they said that's why we won the games. So they said the reason that these kids won the game they played, they said it was implicit, was because of the sign stealing, which was crap. The sign stealing means nothing. 5 guys standing over there with 5 signs. New guys are are live all the time. You can't rely on that. You can only coach off tendencies, down and distance, so and personnel patterns, substitution patterns. That's it. Down and distance, field, horizontal and vertical, and then you gotta, because people aren't going to change that much. You can't change so dramatically that you leave what you've done well behind. So
Well, there's no
what
such
it is,
thing as a perfect play, coach. If I could run a perfect play against you every time, yeah, that's fine. But when Mason Graham decides to take your center and drive him 3 yards back, that perfect play is a tackle for 2 or negative
what
2.
you want to have plays that you can run
Yeah,
where you're prepared to block every defensive scheme, because
very
inevitably
true.
you're going to need that yard, and it's going to require that you make some adjustments up front. And we've been able to do that. We're a very well coached team.
Yeah,
They're technique conscious. They can now. I said to Rob, these guys are tall. Let's see how well they bend.
yeah,
And what I mean by that, you have to bend your knees and get in a football position where you're balanced in order to block people. But when you're a tall guy and you got a guy who's 6'2", 6'3", coming at you at 330, who's a wrestler and has leverage, those it's hard. They're hard to handle. They're hard to block them because you're up here naturally because you're taller. So they're going to have to get low. Now they've done a ton of it. They've only given up 11 sacks. Alabama, before last game, had given up 40. Now, the quality of the defensive linemen in the SEC is probably the best in the country. So that might not be, it's not apples to apples, but that tells you that they protect this guy and they take pride in it. And they got a great offensive line. They've been recognized as such. So our defensive line has a great challenge. I think they're up to it. But we're going to
well,
play the game. We're going to
yeah,
play the game.
we got to play the game, and that kind of brings me to one of my last points is my prediction. I'm not keeping track or anything, but I predicted Iowa wouldn't score. They didn't score. I predicted that we would beat Alabama by a field goal. I was wrong. We beat them by 7 points. I would say, with how physical our defense plays and the way our offense is playing chess right now, the way that Sharon Moore is running the ball in his packages, he has his personnel. I think that we're going to win and beat Washington by 10 points.
Well, I hope
Now,
you're right.
Michigan
Washington's
has
going to score.
Michigan. They're going to score, but they have to score against a different defense, and they got to do it for 4 quarters. Now, Michigan
They got to get the
made
ball
me.
back too.
Yeah, I haven't done anything, but Michigan has made me right. So
Yeah.
hopefully they make me right one more time.
Your mouth to God's ears. That's what we hope.
Well,
So,
I'm fine with winning by 1 point, but I think we're going to win by 10. The spread is 4.5. I'm confident going into this game because of personnel matchups on offense and because of what we bring to the table on defense. Now, special teams was scarce last game. That doesn't mean it can't change and be a lot
we
better.
did cover well. We did cover well. We did some good
Yes.
things well, but you can't drop punts.
So
Can't do it.
we had some mental mistakes. I mean, Bill Parcells coached punts. He said, sprint to the spot, square your shoulders, keep your elbows together, and catch the ball every time. And then after that, that's what you do. So I coached special teams at the NAI level where Kalen DeBoer was, and I was a special teams coordinator. Sometimes we had a young guy that we thought had talent, could take it to the distance, and then he'd drop a punt. Then we put another guy in there, and then he wasn't ready. And so I've been through the woes that Jay Harbaugh's went through. I think he can come back. We have a great group of kids. You've already said this. I think that we're going to come back. We're going to make the snaps on extra point. Our kicker is going to make the field goals. And I think that also we're going to catch the ball. We're going to put our heels on the 5 or the 10, whatever Jay Harbaugh decides. And we're going to catch the ball and we're going to give our offense position to score. I think we're going to make a lot less mistakes than we did last game. I think you said that there was 11 points out there that we left. And those are the 11 points that I
11
think.
points, and we dropped. That's before we dropped the ball at the end, almost to lose the game.
Yes.
And
So
Thaw actually made a horrible play catching the ball, but thank God he recovered the ball.
yeah.
He made a good play recovering it because they were right there. Alabama was there.
So
But
that's
anyway,
kind
behind it.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Coach. I'm looking forward. I think we're going to win. That's my prediction. Hope I'm right. Now, I know you're not big into predictions, but I'd love to hear, your last kind of thoughts about the game, what you would say to the team. I love, when you get me pumped up for playing ball or coaching football or what, or hey, just life in general. You get me
Well,
pumped
what
up. So
coach? You get me pumped up too. And this is I'm inspired by this team actually, by the way they play and who they are.
yeah,
Uh, and Washington has a tremendous team, and so did Alabama, and so did Ohio State. And to malign those kids is wrong. They're out there. There's going to only be one person that wins, and there will be one victor that walks off the field. But when you play a game, you play for yourself. You try to be the very best you can be. You try to maximize your ability, and it's a tough game to play. It takes mental and physical toughness to play it, and you have to persevere. So
yeah.
play for yourself and be the best you can be, and distinguish yourself.
We used to call it doing your 1/11th. There's 11 guys on the field. You do your 1/11th. If you do your job, and every 11 guys, whether it's offense or defense, if everybody's on the same page, we don't get caught in a play call change. We don't get caught in a bad snap. We don't
Everybody executing their responsibility.
Yes.
But I also say play for your family. Remember your mother and father, your grandmother, person that brought you up. There's different kind of families, and these kids have been brought up in different ways and different circumstances. But remember them. They supported you when you were a kid. And the reason you're here is, by and large, their support and your coaches and those people around you when you're a young man. Play for your brother, the guy next to you. Play for your teammate, and they do. And they're our band of brothers. They care about each other. And then we say play for Michigan.
Yep.
Play for Michigan, the greatest public institution in the world, we believe. Play for Michigan. Remember, and let this propel you to a great victory. Remember those great players and coaches in the past. Remember Tom Brady. Remember Hutchinson. Remember Woodson. Remember Ron Kramer. Remember Schembechler. Remember Yost Chrysler. All those guys who were such excellent teachers, who competed so hard. Remember Jim Harbaugh in the way he played like Harbaugh. Played like Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to tell you, when he played hard. Play like him. Play for Michigan. And all those wonderful fans are the greatest fans in America. Our hearts are out there with you. And I would say to this magnificent group, first down. Let's worry about the first down.
Yep.
And then the first stop. But this magnificent group, I would say to them, go do it. This is your time. Embrace your legacy. Embrace it. Go do it. Go make it happen. God bless. Godspeed. Go blue.
Yeah.
That's it.
Amen. All right, brother. Go blue.
All right.
Can't wait for it. Have a good one.
Can't wait. All right. God bless. Thanks,
Next
Rob.
time,
You're the best.
next time I see you, will be Michigan will be national champions.
Well, we hope so.
All right, go blue, baby.